Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. Welcome to today's program with Anna Torma, who joins us today from her studio in Baie Verte, New Brunswick. And also with us today is Nehal El-Hadi, who is the editor-in-chief of Studio magazine. Nehal joins us from her home office in Toronto. My name is Sarah Quinton, and I'm the Curatorial Director at the Textile Museum of Canada and the curator of the exhibition we are here to talk about today, Permanent Danger. Leah Sanchez is our education and interpretation coordinator and is here to facilitate our images and our timing, as well as your questions, which we will address at the end of this session. So please submit your questions at any time by typing into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. This event is organized in partnership with Design TO's 2021 Festival and with Studio, a magazine about craft and design. It's such a pleasure to be working together and developing new systems of mutual connections and support. I will begin today's program by acknowledging that the land on which the Textile Museum of Canada operates is on the traditional lands of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the New Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We are so very grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, which is where my home is located and where I am working from rather a lot these days. Through our activities, the Textile Museum seeks to create and grow a space for people to share, learn, and celebrate the textile practices of today, tomorrow, and long ago in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. It's now my pleasure to introduce Nehal and Anna. Nehal El-Hadi is the editor-in-chief of Studio magazine, a biannual publication dedicated to contemporary Canadian craft and design. Based in Toronto and with over 15 years of writing and editing experience, Nehal's interdisciplinary work has appeared in journalistic, academic, literary, and art gallery publications, as well as several anthologies and edited collections. Themes explored in her writing include the relationship between virtual and material spaces, the agency of digital objects, and gendered and racialized online experiences. Anna Torma is the recipient of the 2020 Governor General's Award in Visual and Media Arts, the Sadie Brountman Award, and is a member of the Royal Canadian Academy of Arts. Anna is also the recipient of the New Brunswick Lieutenant Governor's Award for High Achievement in Visual Arts and the Strathbutler Award from the Sheila Hugh Mackay Foundation in New Brunswick. Anna's been producing large-scale embroidered wall hangings and collages since graduating with a degree in textile art and design from the Hungarian University of Applied Arts in Budapest in '79. She immigrated to Canada in 1998 and now lives in Baie Verte, New Brunswick. I share a special thank you to the Sheila Hugh Mackay Foundation for their significant support of Permanent Danger at the Textile Museum, and also to Carol Tannenbaum for her generous financial support. Nehal, I'm so pleased that we had the opportunity to welcome you to the Textile Museum last summer, and thrilled that you were able to spend time absorbing Anna's exhibition at that time. Would you like to share some of your impressions?
Thank you for having me here. I'm really grateful to the Textile Museum and Design Toronto for including me in this. When I saw Anna's exhibition last year, the first thing that I want to speak about is this lingering sense of enchantment, especially during these very, very disenchanting times. It invited this rediscovery of wonder through everything that was present. There was this curiosity that got opened up. And one of the most significant things to me when walking through and looking at the exhibition, beyond admiration of the technique and mastery of the form, was this invitation to imagine with Anna, the themes that she explores, the way that it opens up and provides this point of reference for looking and responding and imagining and creating and responding to Anna's creation and the stories and themes that are included in the work. Anna's use of color just by itself is really, it's really lovely. Like it's beautiful the way that the colors work. But what is also striking is how active not just the tapestries are, they're very alive. They have this sensation of a pause and freneticism, right? Like the second you look away, the images on there are going to start moving. There are all of these layers and depths that are included, and all of these secrets that some of them get revealed, but some of them, the wonder lies in knowing that they're there, but you don't know what they are. Which also leads me to the first question I would love to ask Anna. How do you create or produce this impression of frenetic movement in your work?
Thank you for this very, very interesting question. It's really inspiration now to answer such a nice thought, because I'd like to focus on the maybe factor. You know, if you see something in images, then you may recognize or may not recognize what do you see. So may or may not, maybe is there. You know, it physically is there, but you don't exactly able to describe what is it exactly, because at the digital age what we have, which is influence our mind and our senses, you know, it's you always hungry for new things, for new visions, because the visual life around us really overloaded by very vibrant, very colorful images, and it's influence you. You know it or not know it, but you are influenced by the very vibrant, moving pictures around you. Probably this is the most significant differences between the Middle-aged tapestries, what I was able to research in France two summers ago, on a happy times when I was able to travel, and I wanted to face that beauty again, or probably last time, what I learned when I was in school, and I thought I really need to refresh my experience with those objects, my favorite objects in the world, those textile pieces like the lady with the unicorn, or the tapestries of the apocalypse, or the bio tapestry, and those kind of very classic textile pieces which are stand the time very well. But I really wanted to see myself, what is the difference and what is the similarities between us, the perfect textile, and my point here in 2020 or 2018. So what is it? And I just realized our world is a lot more larger. The knowledge is expanded from medieval time, and my statement must be different, you know, and my statement with the permanent danger and with the Dionysia storytelling pieces are a lot mixed up, and the story is open-ended because everybody can interpret as they wish. So that's what I want to tell you for this question. Because of the time changed, the subject and the execution of the well-made textile is changed also through me, because I am the interpreter of the time in this case. I am doing what I observe first and I give away, but knowing the history and everything what's happened in the world in textiles and art and the whole knowledge of the what my humble self was able to observe.
Thank you for that mention of the epic tapestries that you mentioned. But I wanna grab onto this one phrase that you mentioned because it's so accurate, this idea of dark beauty. And one of the things that strike me about your work is that it's aesthetically very beautiful. It's very, I wouldn't use the word pretty, but there is a beauty to it. But there's also like the darkness that comes into it is the darkness of fairy tales. It's the darkness of biblical stories that seems not just at the edge of your tapestries, but always woven in it. So you can't take the beauty for like at surface level at all. There's almost like something threatens to disrupt. When we spoke before, you talked about your work and your approach to it existing at these points of tension. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah. So I always I enjoy beauty tremendously. I enjoy flowers and colors and all things what surrounded us. But if goes down to my work and to my job to complete a good piece of tapestry or art or textiles, it's always just a vehicle for me, because I really need to engage people, the audience, to come here and see, because this is beautiful, but not just beautiful, something else too. Please find it. because the age is dark and we have really dark moments, we have griefs and we have bad circumstances, and just like everybody else and every point in the world, some people can experience with the darkness and with the beauty. Just please blend it away, your darkness, because the beauty and the cathartic art, the real art is really a good tool to do that. And I really want to aim to reach in my best level, what I am able to do. That's probably my most important things to do. And it comes down all the time, how and with what. And I need to tell you, this is my medium, the textile. I really wanted to divert myself and go away for a while from textile, but textile grabbed me, and I am with it, and probably that's it. And because we are falling in love with each other, and we just hold each other really tight, and I have to say some more probably with this type of activities, and it's really hard to choose wisely, because the medium sometimes is very time consuming and need a very good designer skill, and to just to organize your designer self and logical self, uh, to sometimes break free from that perfect design and go free, go free and go travel with your fantasy from that platform, what the good design gives you, a strong compositional design and everything what you see. But it's one thing, it's never make a good art, the good art goes with your fantasy and uniqueness and everything, and your soul, of course, because you need to put everything in it. So that's
I want to come back to talking about fantasy and design and all of that a little bit later on. But what you said earlier on was talking about textile as your medium. Now you do textile and embroidery, which is traditionally very women, very domestic
Yes.
labor kind of art form. And the way that you do it is really non-traditional. So I hesitate to use the word subversion of the art form, but I like to think of it as the extension of the possibility of what the form could be, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
how far do you push yourself, or what directions do you choose to go in when it comes to this very carefully conscribed art form and medium?
Um, please ask me again, because I don't know the point where.
So how do you challenge yourself in this medium, right? Rather than doing traditional
it's
things.
it's no, it's always the medium who challenges me, because I just grab a piece of material, and if you make your first step, the another step comes from the material and with the medium, because behind you what you already did yourself, and behind you what you know from experience, from your village, from your country, and some very exciting contemporary art, because if you see, I don't know, Gada Amer or Kara Walker or many of my favorite artists on the world, it's just behind you, and it sticks in your mind, and that's absolutely enough for me. It's not never a planned action. I will push my medium further. It's always comes instinctively, because I like to see art on my own with my own pleasure, and if I grab something because I want to do something, then it almost goes itself. And beside, I really like to do series, because if I completed the Dionysia, the first one, I already designed and draw two more, and it was a triptych. But the time and my invitations for other shows went with me another direction. And this Dionysia, which is the main piece at the recent exhibition at the Textile Museum, was a lonely piece. And somebody bought it, and it became a museum piece. And when Sarah asked me, how can we imagine this exhibition? Then I thought, Sarah, it would be really nice if I can make sisters and brothers for this piece, because this is so lonely. And if you have 2 years in your time and research time and money and everything, it's a huge luxury, museum show, fantastic. I was the seventh heaven, and I thought, okay, that's time to do some more of those storytelling pieces. And so the way as I work, that's why it's in groupings. These groups of storytellings began uh, 10 years ago or more, and now the opportunity came, and I can make more of those, because it's a lot to tell, not just the story, not just the figures and the animated participants of the surface, but I learned how to dye my silk threads, and how can I apply better the base, and covered with a very thin layer of silk, then it will be richer and more. So this was the first, and it was a little bit paper cut works, because it went with cotton threads, and those are never behave that way when the silk thread draws. So those knowledge comes to you with the years, and I use it very keenly, and that's how it's developing. and behind it, it's never I want to make a obelisk or a statue for woman artist. It's just like an air, the woman artist or man artist. It's just the artist, and I have 3 more men artists in the family, and I am the only woman, and I have really don't like any differences. And of course, the kids can be a really good artist, and the outsider people can be fantastic artists. It's just just to think how I think about the world and about the art. Of course, the housemakers and the women at home, they belong to this group, which are kind of outsiders and always fertilize the mainstream in my eyes, at least. And if you put this question into the commercial level, that's absolutely another type of business, because the commerciality and the validity by money, it's a different question, but very, very strongly connected, of course, with the aesthetics and with the what is it? It doesn't matter. It's probably you understand what I want to tell.
One of the things I also wanted to talk about was the content of your images too. You have these fantastical creatures that keep on showing up throughout your work. Now, I know this, but can you talk a little bit, seeing as you're the one who mentioned the other artists in your family, could you talk a little bit about how these creatures came to be in your work?
Yes, it's very interesting because you can divide for two groups. The flora, which are the flowers and greens and vegetation. It comes easy because I am a huge fan of gardening, as the whole entire world knows. And if I do the tapestry like storytelling works, then at the background it's always lush vegetation, and I really keenly portray my favorite flowers and fig leaves and whatever its hand. Even the weeds are very beautiful if you draw them and incorporate them into the surface. And the another creatures are the beasts. And when I go somewhere and see the medieval beasts in some, even in books, wood books from beasts, and the tapestries, those tapestries that I already mentioned, those are a huge source of fantastical beasts. And but the beginning point was my kids' drawings, because that was our favorite game. Draw me a monster, and they draw the monsters and always the monsters. And we had a pretending game how to scare each other, and you know it's a tighter choice of my main piece here in the permanent danger is one of those sentences. Draw me a beast and pretend it is a permanent danger. It's always danger.
The other thing I wanted to bring up in terms of your content was your sense of humor. Sometimes you look at a tapestry and you spend, which I was fortunate enough to be able to do, is that I spent time in front of each one and that were in the exhibition Permanent Danger. And it's almost like watching television. So much is happening. There's so many stories that can come out, but also it's like reading a very, very descriptive book, and how your mind goes wild with what's going on and what the world that you're in is like. But several times when I was standing in front of your tapestries and the details would emerge, I would laugh. Can you talk a little bit about
because one tool to do that is if you don't make differences between a little flower and a queen. Let's see that, because they are probably the little flower are, or the rose, the little rose is larger than the queen of the night, or the queen which crown and everything. And here is shifting, the power, and shifting the importance of people, and sometimes it's just so lame. Some of them, he has such a big body, and and he can be so helpless in that big body, and some other creatures with very sharp tongue, they can they can scare even if you are big and nice and democratic. Then somebody's come with a very sharp tongue and hurt you deeply, because the world is not it's beautiful, but it's dangerous place, where you need to watch yourself. Better to watch yourself, that's for sure. And arm yourself, or if you cannot arm yourself, then have your loved one who is who is safeguarding you in life. I don't know. So those, I don't know.
With the tapestries as well, and unfortunately this doesn't come across on screen, but the lines that you see are all these immaculate little stitches, right? So the embroidery is so precisely and beautifully executed, but at the same time, the finished product is so wild sometimes, and you mentioned the flora and the fauna, and we talked about your sense of humor. But another thing I want to talk about is the way that sexuality comes into play in your pieces, right? Sometimes you'll be looking at something and then be like, oh, there's a penis, right?
Hmm.
So could you
Yes,
talk a little
because
bit about that?
yes, I think I have a series with pedagogical charts which are portraying the human body from the inspiration was the nurse, um, um, a map from the human body made for the 1900s to teach nurse for the human body, and they needed to learn where is the lung, where is the kidneys, and where is the bones. And I saw and examined that chart, and it was so beautiful. And I thought, okay, we are material, we are not just the spiritual beings, but material beings too. We have bones, we have and everything. So it's better to know that biology, because I am a big fan of the natural sciences, of course, and for to this human body belong the pleasure seeking and pleasure making action too. That's because it's essential part of our reproduction and our life, because we really like the joy and happiness what we can able to achieve through our sexualities, and it's nothing shameful about that, because we are a soulful, beautiful creatures on the world, and we have this present from I don't know who, from our brain or our God. I am not able to tell you, but this is with us for sure.
How
And
long does it take you to do one of these large tapestries?
sorry.
How long does it take you to complete one
Oh,
of these large tapestries?
it's different, it's depend how are densely covered with stitches, because some of them, like this one, lots of collage-like elements. And if you get the colors to make the patches as a collage, that's different. It's easier to complete and faster. But and lots of found objects and drawings, and this is easier, not easier, but fairly faster. But if you want to make a similar size than this and cover it just like the permanent danger, that's more or less 9-10 months or a year, okay? Because this is two-sided. It's a flip side always makes part of the view, or the it's an object. It's like different than the others. And probably I can say it's 9 months was the execution for this. And I'm working quite long hours, so I have a good work schedule. I restricted myself from office work as possible, you know, as so I dedicate myself for the project. If I decide to, okay, let's go for a big one, then that year it goes with the big one. And I don't have that many of those, not many, probably, let's say 5 or something, the really big ones. Probably I can make more, I don't know.
Pretty incredible.
And the medium, so my size is my heart is really goes for the big ones, not the little, because many people it says, okay, do you have smaller ones? From yeah, from commercial reasons, of course. but I am not very good to produce small ones. Sometimes I can sell the try, what is it, the test pieces where I testing something.
The other thing I wanted to talk to you about in terms of how you put these tapestries together is the layers. Sometimes you stitch together different layers, and that's part of what gives a sense of music and of movement, music too.
Yeah,
and
yeah, you're right. It's a really good observation.
Why do you do that?
Because I want to that uncertainty what we already talked about, you know, those kind of dissolving the lines and dissolving the background to make it more mysterious, let's say that. I don't want to, so sometimes I go back and visit just like a cutout pieces, like the silhouette pieces, variations from the permanent danger. Sometimes I revisit the whole idea when I first designed the whole surface, and I went away from that concrete patches, forms, and design, and I dissolved with stitches the whole surface and became the permanent danger, which is the two-sided variation. And after that I repeated in 2-3 forms. One form is in Sackville now at the fairy tale exhibition. It's 2 pieces, because and at the Textile Museum have two more from this genre or the
Um,
thematical groupings.
There's a sensuality in pursuit of pleasure sometimes in your work. And I wonder if that, like, what is it about embroidery and threads and fabric that lend themselves to that expression?
It's very interesting because if the work doesn't go well from some reasons, like I don't have the suitable material for my ideas, or I choose wrongly, and the workflow is not good, I am not able to stick with it, I need to change. So the work must be fluent and pleasant and give me a good feeling. If it doesn't give me a good feeling, I don't do that. It's just forget it, because if you sit with 12 hours a day with something but it's not allowed to work together, then it's not worth to do that at all, and it's never will be okay or good or whatever. It needs to be full with pleasure. It's need an endurance for sure, and you need to sit really, really long. But time to time, step by step, it's you get your rewards, and you need to organize that around you. If you are not able to do that, you never will achieve, an exhibition at the Textile Museum with this many pieces. or because it's just it's can't you can't do that without pleasure or without joy. That's my, it's my nature. It's probably other people has different work methods and more drastic and strong something, but I'm soft creature and I like to have joy. So
I like your gleefully hedonistic approach that is offset by the
unfortunately it shows. not just work-wise, but appetite-wise too. I have a huge appetite for many things.
But this gives us this incredible, these incredible tapestries. But then again, they're belied by these darkness and these threatening presences and figures and secrets that are also in there, So even though it feels light and joyful, it's almost like putting salt into something sweet to make the sweetness more. Yeah.
Thank you. It's so nice.
I mean, as a writer, your work, since I've seen it, has been influencing many different pieces, because I like weaving in now what lurks at the edges or underneath in ways that your work
because
has
if you alert what's happening around you, then you can see the world is, or the people is very, very vulnerable. Even our time gives us so much comfort, and you live really comfortably if you are, a normal people in a normal beautiful place like here. It's you have food, you have warmth, you have light, and you able to live your life really, really. And but with all this backing you, then you can see the vulnerability of the humans. They, in many corners are can hurt because I just can't number what those are, because we are not taking care of each other very well, let's say that. And we don't care too much what we really should care and keep and treasure. We should be more careful with our beautiful world, and that's probably the darkness under it. because my heart is just goes out for those people who are less fortunate. And so these are probably every sensitive soul can feel, but somehow sometimes if I'm successful, my voice through my work can reach that level what some people can understand. Yes, it's beautiful, but it's a little bit weird. Why is this beautiful embroidery tells us, the dragon is coming and swallow us in one piece.
Yeah, there's a warning. There's
Yes,
care and also
yeah.
a warning. What is it that concerns you so much that you have to warn us about it?
My number one, of course, is the climate. Let's say that it's it's a title what you can see everywhere. The climate, because our over consuming lifestyle. It's just ruin the whole beautiful earth, or and the carbons and everything. And people, they have so group of peoples who are really undervalued with their culture, with their past. So we need to work on more eco society and take care of our surrounding, our natural environment a lot better, a lot better. So that's probably my main concern.
Thank you so much for all of this. I'm really curious as to what's going on behind you right now.
These are the wrappings, and it's probably you can connect it with my last sentences, because this accumulated stuff here is a joint project with István Zsakó, my husband, who is a sculptor, and he has so much different touch. If he see textiles or touching textiles, he always goes very brutally three-dimensional. This one is just, I would never ever able to do so strongly. It's just like a stone. It's or a bronze, or something. So textile without any support material comes into a different value and different shape and material, and we are learn from each other a lot now. And if we sit down together and do these wrappings, then I really hoping our all accumulated pullovers and leftover threads and those things which are more than a lifetime material for us, then it's get a new shape as a repurposed huge piece, some rooms middle, I don't know. So I fantasizing what will happen with these, because it's from parts, but if you see as a big installation, it speaks something else than its part. That's what what I can tell you about this in
I
this
love that
point.
expression, brutally three-dimensional, because even
And I am flat,
you're not.
my
Um,
I cannot
yeah,
do 3D things,
I
but
think you
it's a
turn the
good combo,
two-dimensional
I hope.
three-dimensional. I mean, you like your work is two-dimensional in the sense that it is flat, but it's not at all. Like it's so multi-dimensional in its experience. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I did want to ask you where you get your material from. You talked about dyeing your own thread,
yeah,
and then you also talked a little bit about the layers that you have in your
yeah,
pieces, but can you talk about where the material to make them comes from?
yeah. When we were able to travel, I traveled a lot, and I knew the silk and the linen sources from in Europe, and I bought lots of materials in Budapest. and Italy and France. That was three. And in Toronto, at the Peter Street, had a fantastic silk store, but it's over. They closed, and I am not able to find online sources for silks because I really need to touch, and I am really bad uh, to recognize, the numbers, how you describe a special silk. What I really need, they can describe with numbers, but I always go for my senses when I buy 50 meters something. I can't risk. But yeah, so very important to have good linen, white or off-white linen, natural linen. The Irish linen very good, and the northern countries, the Sweden and Lithuanians and Polish people has really, the cold part of the world get a really good linen. And that silk is China, who has, but Italy too.
You also use a lot of repurposed fabrics in your work. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do, because if you see some beautifully naive embroidery or or a piece of fabric which is, insanely different than any other things what you saw, then and it's at the thrift store or somewhere, you buy it and you collect it, or many people come to me and give me uh, their collections. So lots of sources.
I could talk to you for hours, but we need to open it up.
Sarah, you were quiet.
Um, I'm gonna
Always learning, always listening, and wow, I too could listen to both of you for hours.
So the
Yeah,
teacher is asking that as a gardener, she wanted to know if you also drew, and if
Yeah.
you did, do you do it for, like, do you plan your pieces or do you draw for pleasure?
I have a library of drawings, and if I really have a beautiful bouquet of tulips which is disappearing or disintegrating or between my eyes, then I draw it. If something capture my imagination or attention, I draw it, and I don't know what will happen with it, but I have, a map full of drawings, and from this subject, it's of course, yeah. And then if the time is coming, I need to design something, then I always go through on the drawings, and some of them goes into the textile, some of them just the reserve.
Thank you. The next question comes from Vita, who says, the beauty of your work, the colors, the texture seduces me in. Then I see something that could bite me, scare me, and makes me back off. It reminds me that the world can look beautiful, but as you say, it is not always so. Now, Vita's question is, do you think that growing up in Hungary and learning that amazing culture during communist and post-communist times would have influenced the sense of peril? So your background, does it inform your idea?
Well, you are your background, you just cannot erase what's happened with you, but it was not terrible, in physically. I had a very, very happy childhood, with surrounded by beautiful women, 4 grandmothers and my mom, and my dad, who was very, very loving father. I was really an equal with my male siblings, so it was quite advanced in that way, Hungary that time, in my time. They had other restrictions, but as a child, I didn't feel. And the school system was very good, what I enjoyed, and my education was really a fine one. But after that, I was 35 years old when I came to Canada. And as a young adult, I felt the communism restrictions for sure, because it was as a top what you are not able to grow through, you know. And I thought, if I come to this beautiful country, then I can grow forever unto the sky. It's a humor, but yeah, it was a good choice anyways.
Thank you. There's a question here from somebody who would like to remain anonymous, and they are asking, I'm a student studying textiles in university right now. What advice would you have for a textile artist early in their career?
Do textile all the time, and and reach good places to exhibit. If you feel like you are ready for the first one, then go get an exhibition and go get opportunities to show your work. It's it seems easy, but it's not very easy to, you know, to achieve that status. But you really need to get your recognition, and then the opportunities will slowly come into you. If your ambition is to be a studio artist, but if you have other ambitions, so it's fantastic. If you want to write from the textile, if you want to teach the textile, that's different. I don't know that but I know the studio life is really the same as for the painter, for the any other creative mind. You know, you need to do it every day, and then reach out for show. And
Thank you. That's advice that applies to everyone, no matter what their medium is.
yeah,
We
I
have
think
another
so.
question here from Lee McLean, who asks, do your pieces come from an overall plan, or do they grow from section to section?
uh, it's a good answer for both, because the overall design is for the whole surface. If you see a big tapestry, I have a drawing, a skeleton drawings from the whole. But when I begin to stitch, then it comes loop by loop, and I usually don't determine the colors ahead. Just very rarely. Lately I did, but it's always come as a impressionist action, you know. So the color choice is segment by segment, but the skeleton and the main composition is well designed ahead. So if it's I don't know if it's good answer or not, but it goes like this.
It's a great answer. And the last question we seem to have here, and it's a great one to end with. Oh, sorry, wait, it's not the last question, but it's still a great one to ask. And it's from Gilles Latour, who asks, what's next for you, Anna, as relates to exhibitions and your next project?
Uh-huh. So I already mentioned the wrappings, which is the collaboration project, but I have project on my own, and I always wanted to explore the black and white possibilities, because if you restrict those beautiful engaging colors, what will happen, and how can you make the forms uh, as interesting as the colorful ones? That's my challenge now in my hand, and I'm working on that. So I will get a black and white period. That is.
And I think this is the last question. This is your last chance to ask questions while I ask this one. And it's from Liz Pete. The question is, I've seen pictures of you working with giant embroidery hoops.
Yeah.
Are these called quilting hoops?
Yeah.
And what kind of needles do you use?
It's
Big one?
different, and it's very interesting question because it depends how many layers you need to get through. If the layers are really thin silk layers, then you need to use smaller ones. But even a half millimeter is count. You know, you really first, when I begin to do something, really need to decide what will be the good size of the needle, and it goes just by experience, and it must be a very fluent action, as I told you before. So it must be fluent and happy, and you are always not there, you just doing it like and you can have music and even film or whatever. If you have a workflow established with a good needle, with a good thread, not tangling, no nothing, everything is perfect. Probably it goes for a week until the workflow is settled down. And after that, it's easy. It's easy to do because your mind is not always there. Your body is there and you're doing it. And that's the answer for that. How can I do that many works? Because somehow I'm not, it's really, really silly to say I am absent. I am not absent, but, but I already made it as almost a habit, how I am doing the stitching. But it's many works behind it.
Thank you. And we have one last question that I'm going to let sneak through because it's a good one and a short one. And after that, I'm going to turn it to you, Sarah. So the question is, who taught you to embroider?
My mother. She gave me the piece of clothes and the needle and everything, and she went to work and she told, okay, when I'm coming home, then this little part should be ready. Can you do that? And I wasn't sure that I am willing to do that, because I didn't want to do that at all. But my mother thought it's a good idea if I have some dexterity after life goes on with me, and it's good. But I didn't give too much chance for me. I will continue doing that traditional handwork because I really wanted to be a doctor or whatever more elegant things than embroider at home, sitting with kids. And I did that, and even better, I built a career on that, what is quite unbelievable.
You made an impressive career. I want to say it's such a privilege to be able to speak with you. And I really hope that we get to do this again and that our paths cross again in the future, because it has been such a formative experience for me, both seeing your work and talking with you about it. Thank you so much. Sarah, I'm going to turn it to you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for your questions, Nehal. It was really big pleasure to answer for your questions because it was interesting and soulful and fantastic. Thank you.
It's hard to know how to respond to such an extraordinary conversation. It's hard to believe you two just met. The truth is, for those of you who are still with us, Nehal and Anna did meet for about half an hour last week, just as a quick introduction. But I think it speaks to the capacity of Anna's work to communicate so powerfully and so thoroughly and with such passion and stories to tell, and also to Nehal's keen sense of observation. I can't resist responding to the last question myself, which is, Anna, where did who taught you? And thinking back to an hour or so ago when we were talking about how, I think, Anna, in some ways you were talking about how you learned from your sons, from your boys when they were little, from the children. And you also learned from your mother and your mother's generation, and how you are quite clearly in the middle, and the capacity that you have to synthesize these two extraordinary, well, not two extraordinary human beings, but these other humans within your lineage, which causes us to talk about each other, and how I really feel that you look after the people that you learned from, whether they're younger than you or older than you. There's a very, very strong message that I receive from your exhibition titled Permanent Danger. It is a little bit of it's a look out, watch out, be careful out there, I care. Which I can't help but think is very poignant in January 2021 and whatnot. So on that note, I'm going to thank you both once again, and thanks to all of you out there in Zoom land who are with us today. And just to say that the event today has been recorded, and it will be available I don't know when, in a week or two. We'll watch your social media and
let us know, Sarah. Let us know when it's available in social media.
By all means, yeah, we will do that. We will do that. So once again, thank you. That was extraordinary.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, Anna.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, Leah. Thank you.